code would be really handy. So, yeah, I'm not sure how this is going to work on Facebook. So good afternoon, good morning and good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. It's great to see so many beautiful faces online this afternoon here in the UK. So I just want you to maybe unmute and just say where you're from and kind of what inspired you to be here today. So I'm going to go along as it shows on my screen. So let's have a see. So obviously I'm Anthea Fenton, and I'm a co-creator, I guess. I help people to co-create this amazing project that has been with me forever. But it all involves everybody and includes you. And so I've had to work for the last 20 years working out how can I get these gifts to humanity? How can I really help people to recognise that we're all co-creators of, especially now, a new world that we're entering into. What inspired you to be here today? So we've got a bit of a delay on here. So can you still hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, so this is the delay on me. So Jerry Lee, you're the first one that's in line, then it's Kimberly, and then it's yeah, so I'll just announce as we finish. So Jerry Lee, over to you. So why are you here? What's your name? Where are you from?
Hello everyone, my name is Jerry.
Oh, I can't hear you. Okay, so
can you hear me?
I know why I can't hear you.
So you just
go ahead, Jerry Lee. Just
can you hear me now, Anthea?
Okay, so what I need to do is I'm not sure. I need to stop the share on Zoom. I think that would help. Oh, over to you, Jerry Lee.
Can you hear me now? Is that, am I coming across all right?
Perfect. That's fine.
Okay.
I've muted it. Brilliant. Yeah, over to you, Jerry Lee.
Yep, so I'm calling in from Scotland, and I have been in co-creation with Anthea for a couple of years now. I have written 2 beautiful books under the Tell Your Story blueprint. So I have trained as a facilitator in that beautiful space. I played the game, and I'm currently implementing being at home guide through this beautiful gift that Anthea has imparted to us. And my role here is that I am a leader in myself, and because we are entering this new phase in our evolution, I want to be the example that I want to see in the world. And that's what's inspired me to be here, is that I'm saying, well, I'm putting my hand up, and I will rise to that challenge. Thanks, Anthea.
Thank you, Jerry Lee. Over to you, Kimberly. Thank you, Jerry Lee.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
I'm here in Boston, Massachusetts, and I'm just now stepping into my purpose and finding out what that is. And I'm just learning about Anthea's project, and I really think that my story could help a lot of people, as we all could have gone through struggles. But my life has taken a big turn lately, as I struggled with addiction for a long time, and just recently I found the answer. And so I think that I can help a lot of people in that way, and I'm looking forward to it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Kimberly. It's lovely for you to be here. Down to you, Eric. We'll go down that way, do snakes and ladders. Oh, let's see. Okay, can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Eric Rhodes, and I'm calling in from Clarinda, Iowa, in the United States. I've been following Anthea and this project for a while. I haven't been fully engaged because I've been dealing with my own battles here, so I've been popping in and out as I can. And today I am being involved and trying to upgrade my involvement, per se. So I hope to be around a little bit more and see a lot more of everybody.
Fantastic. Thank you, Eric. Great to see you, honestly, always is. Over to you, Catherine. What's on YouTube? Great to see you.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Catherine, and I'm living in gorgeous North Yorkshire, not a million miles away from some people, in the UK. And I've been connected with Anthea for, it'll be coming up 2 years in July, I think, and told my first story, yeah, in sort of, or completed it September 2 years ago. Have been connected with this process. Have played the empowerment game as well, which I think is a really amazing tool. And I'm also on a journey and repurposing my life and finding out what's next for me. So I wanted to be part of this process, and see what I can offer, see what I can learn, but journey with this, because I think there's a huge potential here and a lot we can do together and individually. So I'm really excited to be part of this. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you, Catherine. Great to see you. Terry, over to you. I shall unmute you if I can. Hi, Terry. Well,
Hi, Athena. I met you, I believe, through Mother God and Father God's pages on Love Has Won,
yeah.
and which I would love all to be able to connect with. And my enthusiasm for the Crystal Schools is hopefully equal to Athena's, and I want to try to do what I can to help create those. I know that would give the most joy to Mother God.
Absolutely.
And I know Athena knows that too.
Absolutely.
So I am really excited about having those come into creation.
Fantastic.
And I want abundance for all and everyone to ascend to new earth.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Terry. Great to see you and have your presence here today. Over to you,
Yes,
Sharika.
I'm so glad I made it here.
Yeah, well done. Well done. You persevered. That's what it's all about, isn't it?
First time on Zoom. So
Well done. This is the thing. Exactly. It's great. And you managed to do it all. And, oh, fantastic. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Great to have you here.
Thank you.
Over to you, Sharika.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Sharika Hurd in Atlanta, Georgia, in the U.S. I connected with Anthea, I don't know, and I've lost track, soul sister. Maybe within the last year, I've played the game as an ambassador of change. I'm here and a leader. I'm here to inspire others and empower the world to, help humanity return to the heart. Because ultimately, this is what love is all there is. And, I want to share in other sensitive souls and helping us all get to new earth and helping us all, find a way to find our shine, our inner light that's within all of us.
Thank you, Sharika. It's lovely. It's really lovely hearing everybody's voice and hearing, why they're here. And
That's all right.
And over to you, Andrea. Thank you so much for being here.
Gosh, Anthea, I try my utmost. I keep hanging in there.
You do.
Yeah, I was met up with Anthea in October. Started to try and do the book, but a lot of things kind of got in the way. Just moving house and my daughter finding a diagnosis of autism, which we're also thinking myself. And so there's a lot of things, just shifting and changing. So I was trying to sort out all my own stuff. But, this is primarily my focus, which is, like you said, a lot of you are saying the same thing as I feel, which is that self-heart-centered approach and, helping everybody to find their individual contribution to this, massive journey. And that's obviously given us a big shift where we are right now, that's more needed than ever, So really happy that Gracie got me set up on this today, because I still couldn't find the sound on the laptop.
Well done.
So just on we'd managed to get it anyway. So lovely to see you all and to be here today. And thanks, Anthea, for all you do.
No, thank you so much.
Happy.
Honestly, it gives me, honestly, it's so heartfelt, everybody being here, because as you'll get to you'll gather it as I'll try and just stick to the slide. It makes it much easier on myself. But I have a tendency of just going with what intuitively.
Intuitively, yeah, exactly. That's fine.
But at the same time, it's kind of like it's easier on myself if I do just stick to the slides. So be prepared to be wild in a way, I think, anyway, because this is so you're going to gather over hopefully the next hour that this divine initiative has just brought me so much joy in many ways and heartache at the same time, because as you'll gather, I've been on mission of working to bring these tools to humanity for a long time. And obviously our world has not been ready for what I'm going to be gifting today. But you'll also recognise it as well. I know you will, because it's all about every single one of us. So hopefully if you can give me a thumbs up if you can see the slides. In fact, I can see on here if you're going to see the slides. The slides are currently coming up on the screen. And it's, can you see? You should be able to see them shortly. There we go. I'm just wondering if I can replay that again so you get to see it fully. Maybe you can't. Oh, there we go. So, nurturing seedlings to reach full potential. Can everybody see that? Can everybody see the slides? I wonder.
Yes.
Fantastic. Okay, so nurturing seedlings to reach full potential. I want, ideally, if anybody's got any questions, at the end of this presentation, there will be an opportunity for you to maybe just jot them down, and or so that when I can, like, say, you know, if we've got a pause, then you can maybe, in fact, we'll pause after each slide. And if you just want to give a few words, if it makes sense, if it doesn't make sense, if you need me to explain a little bit more. So everybody's heard of Maslow's hierarchy of need. Have you all heard of Maslow's hierarchy of need? And Maslow talks about food, clothing and shelter being the first basic needs of humanity. And so what I did when, and you'll get to know a bit about my background shortly, is that I wanted to turn around what Maslow had said, because at the bottom of Maslow's pyramid, he had food, clothing and shelter. And at the top, what he said is, if people have got food, clothing and shelter, then they can arise to this self-actualization, creativity, authenticity, vitality, playfulness, meaningfulness, and self-sustainability. So what I did was, because I love the look of the pyramid, because it was just simple, childlike, which is who I am. And I thought, I wonder if we can turn it around. So I wonder if we can have the basics of food, clothing and shelter in place, turn the pyramid down and have the bits that he talked about, self-actualization, creativity, authenticity, vitality, playfulness, meaningfulness, and self-sustainability. So that's what I've done. I've turned around Maslow's hierarchy of need, so that if we can find a way that we can provide food, clothing and shelter for everybody, which is basically a means to earn a living, then we can have all the other things just fall into place. So we grow out of creativity, playfulness. Does that make sense to people? If anybody wants to unmute and say if that resonates with them, or anything that jumps out to them, any word that jumps out in terms of what you would want more of in your life right now, out of that little list there. So we've all got food, clothing and shelter in place. What other things would you love out of those? Just one of those words that you'd like to see more of in your life.
Self-actualization, that jumps out.
Self-actualization. Terry,
Playfulness.
Playfulness. Catherine. Terry?
Yes, I'd say in service to Mother God and unity to all, and to connect with my inner child with wonder and joy and bliss.
Fantastic, brilliant. We can see those jumping in there. Different words, but you can see them. Anybody else? Andrea, Kimberly, Sharika, Eric? I know Eric, I would have put you down as creativity. I don't know.
For me, I'd go with self-actualization. I think that's what I'm ultimately shooting for, is that true connection of myself and the realization of me.
Perfect. Sharika, thank you for raising your hand there. That does help, doesn't it?
I like to see more playfulness.
Brilliant. Yeah, me too. Andrea, what's jumping out for you?
Definitely the self-actualization, because I feel I've got a lot of the other things, you know, ideas, all those things. I get a lot of that, but it's actually channeling it and getting it to, you know, take form properly in a structure. That's what I'm looking at.
And Kimberly, what jumps out to you? Thank you, Andrea.
I'm thinking basically, you know, love, knowing how to love yourself and love each other.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. So you can see they're all soft things, aren't they? So let's move forward, because there's some realizations that we're going to get to here. So basically, we're moving. Our world is moving, as we know. You know, obviously we're all in quarantine, which is just so great because it means that we're all able to find some deeper connections. And one of the biggest things that I've found is that I know, being on mission for all of my life, I won't start there. No, we'll go back. Being on mission, I recognise these traits of the divinity with regards to the feminine traits. And our KFA from Lovers One, she came out with this list just last week, and I was just like, oh my gosh, perfect timing, because it's all about perfect timing, divine timing. And so the negative female traits that many of us might have connected with, maybe recognise, is that our world has been very much in a place of manipulation and in control. There's been a lot of jealousy, envy, she names bitch, queen bee, this princess kind of mentality, power over another, wants, needs and desires, which have kind of separated us from this place of playfulness and vitality and creativity, authenticity, love, self-actualization, meaningfulness and self-sustainability. They've separated us all. So any work that we've been trying to do to bring positive energy and to shine our light as empathic people has been captured by this energy that's dominated our universe. And so that energy has just been shifted because Mother God has said, enough is enough. Everybody get back into your homes and go within. So a lot of people are out in our world at this moment in time who are in the homes, but they don't know themselves. They've never had that opportunity of really going in with themselves. And as change takes place, that's quite a scary place to be because people are in a place of fear and helplessness, overwhelm and all sorts, and you'll be feeling those and be sensing those as sensitive people. This is a, you know, it's kind of like it's a pandemic of the heart and pandemic of emotional intelligence, which we've not been taught. That's going to come later. So now that a lot of that energy is being cleared, and it's currently being cleared by Mother Earth, it means that we are arising this positive female traits, through this nurturing, compassion, the childlike wonder, laughter, loving contagiously, bringing joy to others, beauty-filled, stepping into a place of grace and truth, powerfulness, perseverance, courageous, brilliance, divine intelligence, wisdom, inner strength, and tenacious. Are people starting to feel those feelings? Because what's happening is we are going to be feeling these energies, these traits much more than ever before, but they're going to be consistent. We're going to be consistently bringing that sense of joy into our lives on a daily basis because the earth has changed. So let me just share a little bit more. So the mission here is to empower 1 billion families with innovative solutions, and that includes you, because each individual who has stepped into this process, who has had contact with me over the years, every single person has contributed towards these innovative solutions. So I will share more about where they came from shortly. So with the basics of provision in place, then it means that we're able to flourish. We move beyond food, clothing and shelter. Many of us have been exchanging our time for money, and that system has just changed with the pandemic. It means that everybody's at home. It means that alternative ways of people generating an income are needing to be put in place so that people are able to choose. Do they choose the old system, or is there a new system that they can choose? And this is part of the new system. So this could never have been manifest in the old energies. Even though I was out there reaching out for people, I was just building the foundations, learning how to teach another to walk their talk. Many people have looked outside of themselves for these solutions. Now it's time for us to go within and then go without. So as you can see on this slide here, innovative solutions to problems. So as empathic, highly sensitive, entrepreneurial spirited, compassionate light workers or way showers, then all of us have been part of this world where we've not felt like we fit in. We've always felt like we've been on the edge maybe, or if we've had to choose different parts of our path that has not necessarily served us. But if we lay down, if we lay down, or if our needs, if we need, what we need is within us, then why have we been searching without? It's because we've only felt that it's been outside of ourselves, the answer, but in actual fact, the answer is inside of ourselves. So this is about enabling to empowerment. Is everybody keeping up so far? Any questions? Yeah, I can just see some nodding heads. Okay. So Anthea came from humble beginnings, one of 8. This is my story. And I'm hoping you're loving the visuals, actually, because I think they're really cute. I was one of 8 people, and I grew up knowing adversity. That was my fodder. My food was adversity for a reason. And I'm saying this story to you in order for you to place yourselves within your story and your shoes. So many of us will have experienced adversity. Feel free to, like I said, put your hands up if you want to. If you can see that, if there's anything that I'll keep on checking. Eric, I can see that I'll mute you there. Oh. Maybe I can't mute you. Maybe I'm trying to prep. There you go.
There we go. Yeah, I've dealt with lots of adversity, and a lot of my adversity that I grew up with had to do with my health issues and being picked on for my health issues, being small, a grunt. And one of the odd things was a lot of people around me were feeling their own issues, particularly when I was in school in California. There's so many people from all around the world going to school. All of them felt disconnected and the world was against them, and they blamed everybody else instead of coming together, as well as the bullies who are taking part, which made a really vicious, poisonous circle in school when I was in school and in our neighborhoods.
Yeah.
So it was really tough. As I became an adult, it got a little bit better, and I'm doing really well now.
Fantastic. Does
Yeah,
anybody else relate to Eric's story there? Anybody else relate? Show of hands. And there's lots of nods going on, hands going up, Eric, because this is what this is about. This process is about finding. It's like finding our tribe in many ways. It's recognizing that we've all gone through very similar, if not the same. So thank you, Eric, for sharing that with us, sharing part of your story. Sharika, I noticed you've got your hand up there.
Oh, I was just saying that I agree with Eric, but I'll share. The same thing growing soul and child, and just the working through the dysfunction, the feeling like you don't fit in. Just typical, a lot of the same things that everybody else have endured, whether that was sexually abuse, emotional abuse, just as a sensitive soul, and learning, the journey has been about learning how to navigate that in a world around a bunch of other people that, weren't as energetically sensitive as I was. Make sure that, my story, and I shine my light, so that others, that are sensitive or not, that they're able to, find their, if we were all alike, like life would be super boring. So, embrace your own uniqueness and, find your shine so that we can all connect and unite in love.
Fantastic. Thank you, Sharika. Totally. So, Eric?
Hey, I wanted to add something. When you mentioned us feeling like we're not connected and we take a different route. So in my youth, before I got into junior high school, I just viewed everybody as the same person. Ultimately, there's no difference. I don't care what color your skin, your hair, your clothes are. It's all the same to me. We're all pals. But everyone around me was not like that. And that made me feel like an outcast. But at the same time, I still did not view them as an outcast.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, and as I got into high school, it became so vicious that the awareness was drug out of me. and
Yeah.
it became horrible.
Mm.
And then you got into the work world, and that intensified it, because now you're not aware of really anything, because the only thing you could be aware of is the struggle for a dollar to survive.
Yeah.
Where's it going to come from? I got to think for the dollar every second of the day. What am I going to do? I can't sleep, etc. So when you explain this path of achieving clothing, home, food, so that you have freedom of time, where time is not your enemy, but it is your sanctuary.
Mm.
That's where we're heading.
Fantastic. And the pandemic, we've all just been given back the time. So
Yes.
time is kind of like, okay, so that's no longer the issue. What is the issue? And this is where we start to get a little bit deeper. Thank you, Eric, for sharing. And you probably just done most of my presentation, so thanks for that. So we can speed along. So yeah, growing, perfect. So much of my life was spent stunted. And so this whole thing around self-actualization, I know you will resonate because it's your story. For over 30 years, this has all been part of the research. Sharika mentioned it before, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. I've missed out spiritual there actually. Physically, sexual and intellectual abuse. That's what my gifts were. All those just put into a little sentence were the issues, but I had to work out the reasons for them because I was that why child. I was like, why is this happening to me? And I know many of you will resonate with that. So witnessing competing affects the effects of financial pressure. There was a lot of financial pressure on my mother at the time, who was a single mum, who was trying to look after these 8 children, feeding, and plus looking after my grandparents who were in the West Indies, sending money over from the UK over to the West Indies to support them. So there was a lot of financial pressure, but we ate, so we still had our food, clothing, and shelter, but the other things were minimal. And again, I know that resonates with many people. Resonates with many people on here that they maybe felt similar, had similar experiences. I know Andrea, coming from a very large family, there wasn't a lot of love to give around from our parents. They had just adopted what their parents had taught them, and that was it. So we're in this cycle of adopting this not so good way of being, really. But what this confusion, overwhelmed, and loneliness did for me, it was a driving force for change. So there was a point in time where I just thought, as a child, thinking about all the things that were being done to me, but in my heart was wishing for a different story. And I know you've all, that wish has been heard. And this is the time that it was needed to come together to make sense. So there's kind of like there's two parts of a bridge. So we've got this history, our past, and then we've got our future. We're currently on the middle of this bridge, going through this transition. And it's about, okay, so we've gone from separating everybody from each other, but yet we were all connected because we all had a similar story. But we just have to come together to find each other, which is what we're doing. And so with the experience of caring for others, I kind of asked for my mission. Why am I here? Why am I living this life? And I know that's a question that you've all asked as well. It's all familiar, isn't it? It's kind of, we all must have said, why me? Why me, that why child? And nobody had the answer. My answer came in 1996 when I was told, nurture seedlings to reach their full potential. That was the vision that had came to me and the voice that I heard. And I know that many will have heard voices. And I'm just wondering if anybody else has a mission, had a very clear voice of mission of what their purpose was or is. Anybody had a... I'm curious about this, actually. It's just really interesting because I just assumed, like Eric was saying, I just assumed that everybody kind of like did. But actually, this is an opportunity to mention it. Sharika?
Yes, I knew when I was a kid. I was like you. I mean, very young. I knew that I had a mission. I knew that I was here. I didn't understand it. And I knew, like, with my family dynamics, I knew that I was in that family for a particular reason. And I knew, like, as early as I could remember, I knew that I was set to do something amazing in this world. I've always known that.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Sharika. Anybody else? Andrea, is that you? Yeah.
Yeah. I think, as you said, you know, coming from the big family, and I was number 4 in 14, eldest, you know, so, and I was always aware. It's interesting now, like I said, of just trying to finding out, not about the label, but just the way that my thing was then, that finding out, you know, that having the autism thing, and I look at me as a child being so honest with everyone, telling them everything, and them laughing at me, you know, and I'm thinking, why don't they like the truth, you know? So that was the first thing, I think. And then starting to realize now as a therapist, you know, my whole mission, I remember thinking, oh my God, you know, I've got to go to 14 funerals. That was my first thought. What the heck is that? That doesn't even make any sense, because would I be here? You know, I was one of the older ones, but I just remember thinking, oh my God, that's 14 people to, you know, find all those straight away, all the stress that's going to cause. Are they going to be okay? Where are they going to go? I remember thinking that as a kid, and just thinking, oh my God, they need, you know, I need to make a network of some kind to you know, and the fact that all my siblings were kind of in twos as well, like little twinnies, like a boy and a girl, which was really strange. So it was almost like we kind of operated like that as well, but there was sort of, you know, so I could see individuality, I think I'm trying to say, even though there was a huge group. And then like when I do my therapy now, I think I always see them as the templates, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a common thing, because one of the things is like what you just said, the divine feminine and the divine masculine, you know, it's kind of like, that's interesting. And also as well, gosh, I just lost sight then, I just saw bird, is that whole thing of my thoughts have just gone. I don't do that normally. They recognizing that family was a reflection of the outer world for me. That was the biggest things, that the family, because I was like, why this family? I don't get it. We just fought as siblings, and I was the peacemaker in between. But in a way, they were a micro reflection of the big.
Yeah, that's right.
And so it was kind of like all those micro experiences of what we're talking about here. It's like, okay, how do we turn that into the macro to bring out that healing into the world through our story, raising our passion? Thank you so much for that. It's great to hear people's voices. So here I am. I forgot about this bit. So this was me. This is just a collection of little pictures. But I was, when I was born, I was really poorly. And again, it might be interesting. Oh gosh, no, we just threw that one a bit quick. My intentions of sharing these stories with you are to hopefully just to help to inspire you to think about your own lives in many ways. That for me, I was very poorly. This picture that was taken here when I was 6 months old, I had gastroenteritis, and so I had diarrhea and sickness. And so when I look at that from a spiritual point of view, I just couldn't stomach life. I just couldn't stomach it. I was in my mum's womb, and I had to go back into the womb to understand the reasons why I really didn't want to be here on earth. But I remember being born, and I remember thinking, where the hell have I come? I didn't sign up for this. That was the first things that I thought about. And for all my life, I've had an awareness that I didn't realise was a spiritual awareness. And that was okay, because I was brought up in the church, but I knew that the church, I didn't feel love. I didn't feel love in the church. I didn't feel like people really understood me. I was kind of like, hold on a minute, I'm a minority in this church, but still I don't understand why people are behaving the way that they're behaving. But I still knew that there was something bigger than me. I knew that I was protected. The amount of times that literally we nearly got murdered, me and my sister, some horrendous experiences growing up, but I knew that there was a brighter day. So I wasn't a child who was born with joy at all, but I knew that I had to keep on searching. I knew love in my heart, and I knew that I came from somewhere else other than this earth. So I knew that there was another place that I came from. And so I had my hair set alight by my attention-seeking 13-month-old older brother. I have a scar on my face of where he pushed me through a window pane on the 11th floor of the house that we lived, the flat that we lived in, because I was born in a tower. So now I look back and think, it's queens that are born in towers. It was a high-rise flats, but I was like, hold on a minute, I'm losing my sense of importance, but it's not really. Just that's my little joke. But I was born in a tower, and when I was about 3 years old, he pushed me through this glass, and I remember the blood, but I was so young. And I remember seeing spirit and turning it into shadows. So I had an awareness that I didn't know where it had come from, but I knew it wasn't just from this experience. And then, as you can see there, you can see me on this licking the ice lolly, the ice cream. I was so painfully shy at that age. It was just not even funny. It was very much a Cinderella lifestyle that I had. I was very much looking after and nurturing the family, which obviously made me question, is this really what I want to be doing? Do I really want to be nurturing people? Because I've been told that's all you're able to do, or all that you're capable of. So I had to turn it into my way of nurturing, and this is my way. So I did my social work degree. I was the first person to get a degree in the family. That was 27 years ago. And so I fought against everybody saying that I couldn't. Everybody kept saying, you can't do that. That's impossible. You can't do that. I remember my godmother, Earth godmother, who said, I was really surprised actually when you passed your driving test. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, actually, if you don't mind, just don't think about me. If that's the energy that you're going to put out to me, I'd rather you don't, But they were surprised that I passed my driving test. So then I started to really think about energy. And so you can see, that's, like I said, those are just my little pictures. I remember being at school, the one on the end where I was dancing, and I was so shy to be dancing. And I remember one of the teachers saying, honestly, it's amazing what you say to people, how it can affect you. She just said, gosh, I didn't realise you were so slim. And that was because I was quite heavy busted, and so I would cover myself up quite a lot with really baggy clothes. So I wasn't really proud of who I am and who my body was at the time. So, these are all things that were triggers to be able to say, right, okay, how are you going to deal with that? And then you can see the caricature there. That was me juggling. I'd always never thought that I would have children. Saw a vision of ballet shoes and a rugby ball, and I thought, okay, kind of like typical sports for a boy and a girl, and was just juggling. I married my childhood sweetheart, and 1999, the 31st of December 1999, I was writing my divorce paper, because I thought, I can't live this life of silence. It was a big decision, but at the same time, I knew that I had to raise my voice. I was just so quiet. There were so many things that were going on, and you'll get to hear that story at some point. So what I found was that with the basics of provision in place of food, clothing and shelter, I just thought, okay, it's time to address the foundations are in place. How can I be of service to other people? How can I help other people who may be going through this experience similar to me, or this turning complexity into simplicity? How can I help others to reach their potential by reaching my potential as well at the same time, in order to be able to help another? Because I knew that in my work situation, I wasn't really doing that. I was kind of like putting a lid on people, going in with services and offering people help, but that was limiting. So I knew that I wanted to help people to grow into their fullness through creativity and joy, and that I could only give that to myself. And the only way that I could do that is by listening to others and hearing their vulnerability. It was about nurturing people through listening. So what I found was that I remember going into a friend's house that's 20 years ago. She wanted some help, and she's been the founder. She's been helping with the foundations. She's helped with the foundations of all this process. And I walked into her house, and I remember saying she'd contacted the organisation that I was working for, and her services that she wanted, I couldn't help her with. But I just heard her desperation, and I just thought, I can just go and listen. And I went along and I listened. So I took off my tool bag of social worker, carer, took all that off, and I just listened to her, and that was enough. But I didn't realise it at the time. I wanted to give more. And so when I came out of the house, I just cried, because I couldn't believe that somebody in our world could be living in the state that she was living in. And I felt helpless. But what I hadn't realised, as I said, was that I'd listened to her and she hadn't had that before. So listening is such a powerful process, because when you're listening and you're listening consciously, you're listening with all aspects of your being. And as you're doing that, that gift of presence creates this trinity. And so there is a God consciousness presence that comes in to heal. And that has been seen over and over and over again. And hopefully, as we get to the part of the storytelling, we've got a few people online that are able to maybe share your experience of how you felt from the storytelling process. So I hadn't realised that in that moment of listening, the solution was there. So all I was doing was being true to myself, walking my talk, and teaching other people to do exactly the same. To be fully present. And one of the things that I've often wondered was, because I was in the field of care, I was thinking, nobody can pay me for the exchange that I'm giving. Nobody can do that when you're caring. You can never get, the reward is not money. It's beyond that. And I often wondered that, you know, we've created an industry out of caring. We've created people losing sight of themselves in exchange for money. That's the bottom line. So I knew that I needed to create something that was an alternative, that was something that people could come along, they could be fully present, be fully themselves, and their exchange, we have to work at that. And that's what's been created. I'm just going to go through the rest of these because it's just a couple more. I knew that we had to create firm foundations of how we relate to each other. It's like, okay, so what do we have in common as opposed to what our differences are? Because many of us look at our differences first, but we don't look at what we've got in common, because we never spent the time just sitting and talking on that deep level. All I know is that I wanted to serve humanity, and in being so, the words came to me, including you. And I was kind of like, and I put down, including you, it's including you, it's this tree, I had the vision of a tree, and I was kind of like, okay, what does it have to be called? And it was including you. So people say, what, including me? It's like, actually, just including you. It's inclusive of everybody, because everybody's got a story. So it's about everybody. And this is what we realized, that what I realized was that, okay, let's look at what we've got in common as opposed to what our differences are. Because if we can look at what we've got in common, then it means that that's our level playing field. So it means that we don't exclude anybody based on, as Eric said before, based on the colour of the skin, based on their abilities, based on their health. All that's gone. We just look at, okay, what have we all got in common? And so what we've got here is, this is the seedling. So it's this seedling of, so nurturing seedlings to reach their full potential was about identifying 6 areas that we've all got in common. Now I know some of you already know what these are. Hold on, what have I got here? I've not got, so we've got time. But all of us have got time now, because we've all just been, you know, our world's changing and it's going to continue to change. So time is something that used to be an issue for people. People used to say, I haven't got time, Anthea, I haven't got time. But the timing actually wasn't right. The timing's now, because this is time for us to do something that can transform our world. And we transform our world by transforming ourselves. Health, so the sun represents health. Health obviously is the reason why we've all got a bit of time as well, is because we really need to focus on, you know, we weren't looking after ourselves. We weren't looking after ourselves. If we're not looking after ourselves, we're not looking after Mother Earth. And so this is a time, you know, the more people now, you look at the Earth, and Mother Earth now is so much more vibrant than ever before, because we've all just stopped. It's like we've been given permission to look after ourselves. And part of looking after ourselves is looking after our mother. That's what it's all about. The cloud represents resources, represents money. Now, a lot of people, as we know, some people will have more than others. Money is an issue for people right now more than ever before. There's people are making that transition from working to being. Money is the issue, is an issue. However, if everybody has more or less the same and they can share their surplus, then we start creating a redistribution of wealth. We start tipping the balance when it comes to money. Money has been part of the the destruction with regards to our lives, with regards to mother's children. You know, if you look at Mother Earth and you look at we are her children and we're part of the earth, then, you know, when you look at how life used to be, what was the things, I want to find out from you, what was the one thing that you was out of balance in more that you recognise now than you did whilst you was in it, if that makes sense? So is it time, health, money? This, at the other side, is this undergrowth is personal growth, personal spiritual growth. So that's the undergrowth. So they're the same signs that are on the board. So that's a place of nurturing when we go inside of ourselves. Then we've got our hopes and dreams, which is the rainbow, our visions. And then we've got the plan, which is the star. So that's a planning of goals. So if I had to ask you, which one was you out of balance in before quarantine, which one would it be? And there might be more than one. I'm just going to go for the nod. Or hands up, or Eric, I can see you moving there. Yeah. Eric.
I'd say all of them.
All of them.
Yeah, because it's the lack of knowledge of my own personal power and feeling small and feeling helpless while I'm trying to find a path and weave through all of the negativity to find the positive, not realizing that I'm the one in control.
Well said. Hear that one, Eric, massively. And that's the thing, because what you've reminded me there is that all of us have been taught the same thing at school. All of us have been taught the same thing. So there is no blame here. We've all been taught, spend all our time working, and then any surplus, you can do whatever you want with it. And it's wrong. That's been wrong. But we've all been told, put everything first for the material, for the outer thing, and do the inner stuff in your spare time. We're turning around. Anybody else? That's just Andrea?
I think for me, just you saying that, as you said, you know, it was being taught, first of all, the feminine, you know, divine feminine, you look after everybody else. And that, you know, all my life, being a nurse, being a carer, looking after, as I said, you know, I already thought my main mission is to find the answer, to bring it back to the family, I could see all the mess, I could see all that, and, you know, and bring some balance and all that. In the meantime, not list the self-care, you know, that was so prevalent being a nurse, you know, you're just looking after everyone else. And it was coming back to that, you know, especially when I met you as well, saying, you know, I always kind of knew that it had to be, it was almost as well, you know, trying to, because I was brought up a Catholic, so it was all about all of that as well, you know, going, if you were a martyr, that was better than being, you know, Donald Trump. Oh, sorry. But, you know, something aiming for that, that wasn't the thing to aim for. Being, you know, lowly down there was what was to aim for. Mm-hmm. And being humble and being, you know, giving your riches to the poor. That was the idea. So once I'd done that, and it's like, hold on a sec, I'm actually barren, I've got nothing, you know, emotionally more than anything really. But that contributed on every level then, because not looking after the self, obviously, that's like you said, then goes back to the Maslow, having all those things in place in order for you, and then coming from poverty mindset just doesn't do it, does it? So, you know, I wanted to incorporate all those things of helping everybody, but it had to, you know, get switched because of now, you know, it's like you said, being sent home to say, look after yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
absolutely. You know, thank you, Andrea.
Really resonates what you're saying.
Absolutely. Thank you. Perfect. Sharika, you've got your hand up there. Thank you.
It goes back to the same thing I think you said earlier, Anthea. Exchanging, we've been taught to exchange money for being. You know, I look at that, I worked so hard and, you know, just all my life we're taught to chase the money, chase the money, chase the money. But even what I found is that even when you get the money, because that's what I thought, you know, 23 years in a career, you get there and like, I did all this and there was still something missing, you know, and I just wanted to move past look good on paper, look good in person, but emotionally empty, you know, being financially wealthy, but spiritually empty. And I just made a decision to let go of the lie. you know, and just let it all burn so that I could find me.
Yeah.
Because I knew the money part, if you can connect with you, the money part is usually, you know, you can work past the lack mentality and scarcity and things like that. The money will come, but you know, you gotta connect and figure out who you are and be true to that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's powerful, because that's, at the end of the day, when you go within, you discover something much more special. And so we've been trained to look outside of ourselves and to be outside of ourselves, and to not have faith in actually going within. And when you do have that faith of going, luckily for me, I think I can honestly say that all the adversity, if you look at all those adverse experiences that you've had, then you probably find that you can feel that there's been a greater presence that's been looking after you. You know, that recognizing that you're not on your own, because a lot of us have thought we've been on our own in all this. But in actual fact, when you look in those moments, it's like, actually, no, we're never on our own. We didn't come here, we came here, we were birthed here for a reason. And that reason was to bring balance back into our planet through recognizing our God consciousness. That's the bottom line. This isn't about religion. This is about our God consciousness that's within inside of us, that lights up every time that we do something to serve others. As we're serving ourselves in love, we're serving others, because the more that we can work on shining our light, the more that we blast that light out to the world. And that's sometimes why we end up in feeling isolated and feeling alone and feeling like nobody understands, because it's there for a purpose. Eric. Oh.
I had something I wanted to add in there is a little bit ago you mentioned when you were coming across people and they had an off, their outlook about you was not the outlook that you see, and it was more negative than what the truth was. For instance, when I'm a baby, maybe even before I'm born, and my mother, my grandmother, my grandfather, my uncles, they're all worried sick that I'm going to come out and be underweight and I'm going to be a sick child and all that. And then I come out and wow, look at that. I'm underweight and I'm a sick child.
Yeah, energy.
Now that I'm an underweight and sick child, now that gets pounded into my brain from everyone that I come in contact with. Yeah. So now my mentality is I'm underweight and a sick child, and I'm never going to get rid of it. So through my childhood, I got picked on because I was scrawny, underweight, and had skin disorder and had asthma, and I smelled funny and everything else. And my view of it was 100 times worse than everybody else's view because of what was being thrown in my ear.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, if that would have been the opposite, then my whole life through school would have been completely different. Because my outlook and my perception and my energy going out would not have been that.
Yeah, it's distorted, isn't it? And that's the thing, isn't it? Yeah, that distortion. It's kind of like, okay, so is it our environment that shapes us? But this is about saying, okay, our environment maybe did shape us, but why did it shape us? That's only half of the story. This is part of the story. It's that infinity. So thank you, Eric. That's brilliant. Again, it's just all little nuggets that we're experiencing today. So hopes and dreams, and then we've got our plans, and then the spiral. So with the basics in place, energy orchard, nurturing you to reach your full potential in these areas of imbalance, health, money, and personal development. That was what I had to focus on. I had to focus on, okay, so if we can look at our health and really begin this self-care process, because working in the field of care for me was huge. I left so many places because I was not happy about the lack of care for each other. It was like, oh my gosh, is this how we really care for each other? Because if this is our future, if I'm seeing our future now, something needs to take place, something needs to change. What I didn't realize is that the size of this organization, I didn't realize that this is what is going to be really instrumental in our world. I didn't realize that this bridge of transition was about how can I, as an individual, really focus on self-care and revolutionize the way that we care. To really, how can we do that where we're all healthy? And I kind of like said one day, I want to do something that we can all do. I want to create something we can all do, that we can have fun, that it involves looking after ourselves, and that all the labels are gone. So whether or not all the labels of mistrust, which date right back, well, for millenniums, but 1700s is where my energy has been able to get back to. Not through trying, just how it's happened. So 1700s, where there was enslavement of people for money. That for me was the key. It's like, if we can find ways that people can earn an honest, ethical living, not through competing, not through greed, but just through nurturing people, is there some way that we can do it? And luckily, I started off as a volunteer, so I had voluntary experiences and charity experiences. And I don't fully agree with charity. I think charity really does begin at home. It really does about getting your own act in order. And then giving what you've got, giving the surplus. So when we're caring for people, we were often, what I often witnessed was that people that were in the caring profession were lacking in themselves. That in actual fact, what they were offering, and Andrea's, they were lacking. It was like, hold on a minute. I remember working at the council once. I went to experience working at the council. I think I was on a 18-month contract. It took me 18 months to recover, because I was just bringing all this negativity. Because when you're empathic, as we all are, you end up just absorbing and becoming ill yourself. And so that is not the role. So for me, being behind the computer is the safest place that I can possibly work from. I can maximize. So this was always something that was in the vision, was having this screen and touch screen. That's what I saw. And so what I realized was that a lot of people that were in lack were looking after people who were also in lack, whose health was compromised. So I was kind of like, okay, so what if we have to maximize? So we had to, what's the word? One of the bosses at the council said to me, gosh, actually, Anthea, I guess you're like you have to be like a fine-tuned athlete where you are maximum 100% well in yourself to give the surplus to other people. And that was back in the early 2000s. And I just thought, oh my goodness, self-care is essential. You can't give what you don't have. So this is about creating the best that you can, to give the best that you can for you, because as you're doing that, you're giving it back to Mother Earth. You're giving it back. The energy that is being thrown out into your surroundings is nurturing Mother Earth. It's nurturing your environment. It's nurturing your Christ consciousness. That's what this process is about. Does that make sense to everybody? I'm so excited that I actually said all that in the way that it came out, because I never know. It's just like, it just comes out. But that whole thing of nurturing the seedling comes from the earth. We are those seedlings. And if we nurture us, we automatically nurture everything and everyone around us. So important, so important. Is everybody getting this? Yeah? Brilliant. And so Energy Orchard was born, and the Energy Orchard came from a friend. He just said, God, it's like an energy orchard. And I was like, oh, actually, that is spot on, because if you can imagine, an orchard has got lots of trees in it, and they all make room for each other. That's what I love about it. It's like, oh my gosh, to think that nature is all around us. It just shows us that all those trees that are planted they'll just make room for each other. So it's like getting that underground network and seeing that underground network. And we can see our little faces today, but to think that we all started off as little seedlings, didn't see each other, just could hear each other underground. It's like, how can we create this network into blossoming a blossoming orchard. So that's what this is all about. It's about consciously listening to ourselves and listening to others, which I know that we're doing today, which is just brilliant. And the intention, again, like we said before, is to reach potential, to enable another to do that. And so right now, it's like, what does our world need? Our world needs more creativity and joy. We've just said it all as we were starting. We need that emotional connections. We're connecting here today. You know, it's like we need more of this. We need that more time where we're able to all connect with each other and really get to find out who we all are. Because, you know, we're all here today from around the world. We've all shared our vibration in terms of our voices. We all can hear each other. It's wonderful. Saturday afternoon on the 2nd of May, and we're connecting around the world. We're all in quarantine. It's like that feeling of this presence here. You can't buy this. This is just about being and wanting to do it because the heart is saying, I want to do this. I want to connect with these people. I just want to find out more. That innocence of the child, which often some of us can be like, oh, I remember somebody saying to me, what is it about? What is this all about? And I'm kind of like, okay, just watch the video. Find out more, feel it. We need to exercise that feeling. And as we become more true to ourselves, walking our talk, that's what happens. As we give that gift of presence, and I'm going to go on to the next slide shortly, we're building these foundations because we're wanting to serve humanity. And as Terry said, the ultimate goal for here, for what I'm doing, is that connecting with lovers one, and knowing that vision of, you know, that God is, I mean, that's just another conversation completely. But knowing that there is a vision for crystal schools where children, I mean, seedlings are children, that's all of us, it's inside of us. This is about tapping into your inner child. So this is an adult crystal school. This is reigniting that childlike wonder from within. That's what we're tapping into. And this process that was gifted to me, a divine initiative that was just kind of like, I have to do this because this is my heart's calling. I'm here for a reason. So what we do is we tell our story. And so that's one of the things that I was told. So one of the things that I needed to do was to tell my story. And I just did it with some really, you can see on here, it's really childlike. You can see the little pictures on PowerPoint, you know, little head and little arms. And so it was really innocent, and it was meant to be innocent for a reason, because I knew that, you know, when you look back, this book is almost 20 years old. And I don't know if you can see on there, it says how to create a transition enterprise from hitting rock bottom. Now, that's, like I said, about 10 years ago. So 20 years ago, almost. How to create a transition enterprise. So this is the transition that we're in, but we're only in it now. So I'm wanting you just to feel into that. Had I built a transition enterprise there and then? No, I was just writing about it. 20 years on, is this a transition enterprise from hitting rock bottom? Absolutely. Is this going to help people through transition? Absolutely. But at the time when I wrote it, it was because it was a vision that I'd had. Does that make sense? That sometimes we can't see. It's not about what we see, it's what we feel. That we take those steps, we haven't got a clue, we're in the unknown, we're in the uncertainty. So this project is about uncertainty and about being in the unknown. And at the same time, it's about saying that there's somebody has brought us here today. All of us are not here just by coincidence. We've all been brought here today by the very same person, or it's the same thing that created this process. Does that make sense? You know, it's kind of like there's something much bigger than us that has already told our divine selves, our higher selves, way before today, that we were going to have this meeting. It was going to be online. We were going to be buying back our time. That's about this process. Terry, is that your hand up, or are you just stretching?
I just wanted to say you were guided by your angels, and it's also everything you're saying is love in the unknown is the 5D new earth and heaven. So you were guided to bring us all here.
Yeah,
and I really am grateful for you for doing it for so many years and knowing in your heart that you were going in the right direction. And that's where I want to go to.
Bless you.
And creating the crystal schools is Mother God's dream. And I really want to see it come true.
Absolutely.
And I feel you are making it come true.
Thank you, Terry.
So thank you.
Every time you speak, Terry, and even when you said yesterday, you made a comment in one of the, and it just brought tears. And I was thinking, right, okay, why tears? And tears of joy, because I've only dreamt of this. I dreamt of the screen, and I dreamt of lots of different faces and diversity, inclusion, just an equal playing field, you know. And today I'm looking, I'm like, oh my gosh, actually, just breathe, Anthea, because this is it, you know. I've had an urgency for so long of like, come on, everybody, the playing field's here. But it's obviously just had to be divine timing, you know. Eric, I can see you yeah, it's had to be divine timing. So thank you, Terry, so much for that. I really appreciate you. Eric, I don't know if I've tried to unmute you, I'll let go.
Yep, here we go. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So when you were talking about the messages have been around us for a while, something that I find great beauty in, which I encourage everyone to step back and look at it from that perspective, is it's, if you step back and look at anything you're involved in, whether it's watching a movie, a TV show, seeing someone's art, reading a book, listening to a story, anything, even looking at artwork on a poster, and you look at it from the perspective of what the messages are that we're receiving, what we're trying to put out, what is the messages that we're being given from our higher self. They're all over the place. They've been giving us these messages for eons.
Yeah.
And it's in everything if you just stop, look, and listen.
Yeah, totally. And you know what's really interesting as well, as you're saying that, Eric, is that I look at people in the communities that I'm in right now, and I think to myself, isn't it funny how we can get triggered by so many things outside of ourselves? So we can have this whole, in fact, I won't mention this because I hope Jerry Lee will mention it as part of the storytelling process. I think it was Jerry Lee that kind of like highlighted something to me. Is that when we do this process, it links in, Eric. When we do this process, we tap into automatic writing. That's what we tap into. So many people will say, gosh, I started writing about something and then it just led me down this other road and this is what I came out with. And the beauty of seeing that unfolding so many times. But ultimately what happens is the last 5 chapters of this process, everybody is speaking almost the same language, which is kind of like, how can that happen? So it goes to highlight that there's some key qualities, some key elements that are just innately part of who we are. So it goes back to that, the feminine traits, the nurturing, the loving, the compassion. They're all, it's like when you look at this process and you look at yourself and you look at how we're talking and you look at the beauty, then you recognize that we're all saying the same thing, and yet we're from all over the world. That's the beauty of this. It's like, that's how simple it is. So we're coming from, so if you look at the mechanisms, I think, okay, a seedling, when we're born with the seedling, we sprout. So we're rising into this tree, and you look at the bark and you look at the branches and you look at the leaves, and then they get recycled. And it keeps on going round, this recycling. And it's kind of like, many of us try and make decisions on the branches. Many of us have been taught to make decisions outside of ourselves and on these branches. It's the worst place you can make the decisions. Absolute worst place, but it's where we've all been. What we have to do is to get back into our core, but we're not taught that for a reason, because we're here to experience the branches and experience life, but then to get back to our core, recognizing that actually what's outside is within, as above, so below. Where's the roots? This is about root growth. So I'm just wanting to invite some people to share their process of the storytelling so far, because obviously there's a few people that have never experienced it. Kimberly's never experienced it, Terry's never experienced it, and anybody else who's listening, because there are some people who have sent their apologies today, so I will be posting this video. So I'm just wanting you to share your, let me just share it so that you can see. So basically, this process, Tell Your Story at includingyouformula.com, is the place where many people have shared their stories. So actually, Catherine, you've come out first. Your title of your book is Life After Lack of Self-Love. So maybe that's just the order that we have to go in. It's kind of, I'm hoping everybody else is on there. So Catherine, you're on the spotlight. So share your experience of you know, the process for anybody who's never experienced it before.
Yeah, okay. Just thinking back to that long ago, so much has happened since. But yeah, I remember when I was first introduced to it, just something drew me quite strongly, and I just felt I need to do this. And then when it actually came to the moment of doing it, because of that whole lack of self-love thing, I got all a bit panicky about, oh, well, how do I do this? And I can't write, and I'm not a writer, and so really struggled with the first couple of chapters to start putting pen to paper and just to get into the process and trust myself to do it and be in it, and that whatever I wrote was okay. I mean, thankfully, as Anthea said in the introduction, this is a hand-holding process, so there's a lot of support along the way. And once I got onto my first call and we started, and we're there as a group of people, actually from all walks of life and different things, but once you come together, you realise the similarities with each other. And it was just such a safe space that was created that it was fine, you know. And so I was able to get over those fears, if you like, and start writing. And again, as Anthea's just said, that process of writing, I mean, I still struggle with it a bit now. You know, I haven't really got anything to say and so on. But once I start writing, and I think it's really important, this handwriting bit, not just putting it straight into the computer, because we're so used to being on our phones and keyboards and all the rest of it. But actually getting into that, writing it by hand, so there's this physical connection of pen to paper, fingers to pen, fingers attached to the hand, to the arm, to the shoulder, to the neck, to the brain. That's really, really powerful. And that once I started writing and just letting myself write, it just flowed. And I had to be very disciplined with stopping myself writing at the end of that page, you know, to stick to this A4 page. And that in itself was a really helpful part of the process also, thinking that I've just got to write one side of A4, you know, I don't have to write a book in one go. And then working through this process step by step, at the end of well, I suppose it's 3-4 weeks, 6 weeks in total with the writing and then coming online and sharing, lo and behold, I had a book in front of me, which I never would have thought at the beginning, that I had a book in me that I could get out there and put down. So, and I learned a lot about myself, and again, just making those connections with other people and finding out that for all our differences, we're all struggling with very similar issues highlighted. You know, I mean, I listening to Anthea's story, that I can't relate to much of that. You know, my childhood and upbringing were very, very different. And that's what I found with the other people on the call, all very different backgrounds and childhoods and things we wrestled with and didn't. And yet we all end up at the point we come together on this at different ages and stages in our lives, and we have so much in common. And that was very powerful too.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Catherine. And it's true, the beauty about the process and seeing each person, that each person as kind of like has got triggers for each other or have experienced life very different from other people. And that's the beauty of it as well, is that, you know, hearing Catherine's story was very different from mine, but I was able to step into that space of joy, because it was like, oh, wow, my little girl was able to experience your little girl, you know. And that's the beauty about this process, is that you don't have to have lived it. It's kind of like just sharing in the process, you feel it, you know. So it's a very unique process, but at the same time, really punchy, powerful. Life After Awakening is another story. So these are just some of the titles that people have. Let's see if anybody else is on here that's, again, some people have gone to deep places that they've never gone to before, life after rape, you know, which is a real painful experience of seeing this young woman struggling with speaking her truth for the first time, you know. So some people go into and these issues, these dark spaces where people are at, have to be released from the planet. They have to be released, they have to be shared, they have to be let go of, because they're not ours to keep hold of. They're actually to heal Mother Earth. So, you know, there's no shame whatsoever. It's letting go of all that to be liberated and to be free is what this process is very much about. I'm just looking to see if there's any life after reclaiming self, life after death. That was a lady whose daughter passed, and she nursed her, and she was just so grateful to share her story in a very different way than the majority of people. And right now, she still says, you know, you saved my life. When we offer this process to people, we don't know what people are going through, what they've gone through. But the beauty is that it doesn't matter. It's where we're going to. So, Sharika, do you want to share?
Oh, you got me on. Okay. Yes. I did the story, and I got the first 5 chapters, but mine was life after hauling heavy. And you're right. What I noticed is that, you know, that was my first time really speaking out and speaking my truth, you know, because, you know, after having, you know, a pretty, what you assume, you know, we're taught to work and escape our being. And we think that because, you know, as we become successful in quote unquote, the outside world, all those same wounds from childhood and your story, they don't go away. You know, it's just like, you know, they're kind of swept under the rug. And until you actually get the courage to speak your story, that's what this process allows you to do. It allows you to kind of integrate all those things that you've been kind of keeping a secret about your story and bringing it to light. And only when you bring it to light can you heal it. And that's what I noticed that, you know, the process of sharing your story did for me, is it allowed me to start looking at things that, you know, a lot of things that I had suppressed and that I had forgotten. You know, again, that's a part of that looking good on paper, looking good in person. But, you know, if you continue to suppress your story, that's why we have a bunch of emotionally, you know, empty people in our world right now, is because we're basically hiding from our truth. But only when you can face your truth, then can you release it. And once you begin to release it is when the healing process will begin. And then you're able to truly step into your power and shine your light the way that you were divinely meant to.
Brilliant. Thank you, Sharika. I remember, Sharika, I remember the impact that the first chapters had made on you. And I also remember you actually helped to remind me that, again, our world has got this whole thing of personal development and coaching. And many of us don't experience what we experience here because we're speaking it to a group of people. It's like, make no mistake that every session that we have that has maybe sometimes different people in it, we're all divinely put there. And when you speak, it's very different. Personal development is a very individual thing, but it really isn't, because each person triggers us to become the best that we can possibly be. You know, so to actually hold space, and I haven't seen that. It's like other people that come to this process enable me to see what this process does for people. I don't know until people come and actually share and what I witness, and I witness everybody's story. And it's just an absolute honor and privilege that people come into this space and just feel at home and just share the truth. It's like, that's it. It's just, to witness people going through that is just, it's incredible. But I can go on about that for a long time. Thank you, Sharika, for sharing your space, that space there. We also have life after loneliness.
Well, what you realize is that, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
What you realize is that, you know, you come into it and you know, the shame and the things around, because you think that, you know, I think of my whole life, I thought that I was the only person that experienced all the dysfunction, and as a sensitive soul, I thought it was just me. But what you realize in this process of sharing your story is that it doesn't matter where you're from in the group. We were from all over the country, but we were more alike than different. And that's the beauty of what the story will allow you to experience.
Absolutely.
Is we're so much more alike than we're different.
Perfect. And that's the thing. And I think one of the reasons for putting the titles up here today as well was to kind of like to show you that every person who's gone through this process is sharing an aspect of ourselves. And that's why we accelerate the learning and the healing, because the energy is still here. The energy is still within the community of people releasing all these different labels: life after attempted suicide, life after separation, life after loneliness. People are integrating that aspect of themselves. It's like when you integrate it, you can bring it into prayer and you can let it go. So you can bring the love from the one side and you can bring the story from the other side. They both come together and then you can release them. Many people in our world have always focused on light workers of love and light, and I'm kind of like a bit. It irritates me a little bit because there is the dark. It's accepting that the dark, which we might call our painful bodies, have to be seen. The underbelly of our world has to be seen to be released, and so this is part of releasing that underbelly. If we don't do it, then it means that we're just stuck in this density. This is about how do we celebrate. I celebrate every experience that I've had, every single experience. Why? Because it means that I can do this work truthfully and authentically. That it doesn't matter where people have been in the darkest moments, I'm there. I'm there to hold the hand. We're going there together. You don't have to go on your own. That's what I love about this process, is nobody has to go alone. They never were alone. That was all part of the illusion. Eric, I can see your hand there. And look, Eric and then
Okay. So I wanted to mention.
Your connection's not great, Eric. There's something going on there. You're frozen, if you can hear us. So maybe, Andrea, do you want to?
Got all that.
Oh, sorry, hold on, sorry, no. Eric, you're back. Eric, you disappeared for a while. Do you want to start?
Okay. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you perfect, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so an example I want to give is me going to school. So I'm going to school and I consider myself the ugly duckling because that's all I've heard. And any comment I hear from anybody hurts me deep. I can't see myself any other way than a corpuscle of rash and degenerative human that no one wants to be around. So as an adult now, with some of these issues that I find really that hurt me in my past, if I go back, because I refused to look at that for so long, and I look at some of the issues and I'm able to contact a person that I know was involved in time and share that moment with them and look at the pictures from them, it's nowhere near as bad as how it is in my mind. Not even close. And in my mind, it's that way because I was allowed forces to interfere with my internal thought process instead of stepping back and understanding. But my theory on this is, if you have a serious thought issue of yourself from your past and you know there's someone that you can talk, it may take a lot of strength for you to do so, but if you can go back and relive that with that person from their perspective, not yours, and see if it's really as bad as you think it is, it might relieve some of your negativity of that thing and say, wow, I was really just overthinking it.
Yeah.
That really wasn't that bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, because it never is it? It's just, it's often in the sharing that you get to see the truth.
Right.
Perfect.
Because your perspective would be so overblown based on the pain that you're feeling at the moment
Yeah.
Because anytime anybody's feeling pain, theirs is always worse than everybody else around them. It's just the way it is.
The way the ego works is the way the ego works, because when you recognize and shift that ego, then you know that it's all love. It's all about love, even the darkest of experiences. If you can put love into that I remember, if you can put love there instead and replace it with love. And as an adult, I think you go back to your inner child and bring that child love, because that love was always there. We just were blinded to it because of what the external world, how it was presenting itself. And the illusion, part of the illusion. Thank you, Eric. Andrea.
Yeah, just what you were saying earlier about the what I keep coming back to is this, what I'd experienced is you're saying the separation, and then that comes into the the isolation, the separateness. But what I'm feeling now with all of this, like yourself, with this pandemic, I'm like, imagine how many people were saying, God, I wish I could stay at home and get all these jobs done, or do this or do that. How many people must have said that as we were all going through this experience that we were hating, just running after the money and all the rest of it, because actually that message was heard, because it did, say, right, you all go home, go sort out what you need to sort out, yourselves, your family, because I just felt like the family aspect was disappearing. Kids are on the phones, aren't they? Parents don't sit at the table, all of that. They were forced back to the beginning of, I talking about, I remember my father anyway saying, you're all, I loved about him is always say, you're unique. You're unique. There's nobody like you. There's never ever going to be anybody like you. And so I can see now that on his journey, having those 14 kids, I can see that he was trying to say, you're all individual, yeah, but we run in this collective. So I totally know what mission I was getting on when I was always with my dad, and my mom was always like, no, all stick together. You all have to help each other. And it's like, yeah, after you've helped yourself though, right?
Yeah.
Well, that was why there was a mixed message, and I can get it now. That, so, and the other way of, like the fact that the families have been pushed back together, and now they've been able to face what the family means in this day and age, and what we're losing as a result of the collective.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. I don't know.
Absolutely. And I think, like
individuality and separation, that's what I'm trying to talk about. I think we've interpreted it as separation, when really it's individuality that the greatest spirit, whatever, was trying to get through, just because that's what I feel now.
Absolutely, because like you said, it's that great spirit, source, Mother God, hearing the call of her children. When you think of it, that all of us have been crying. And when you look at, I'm thinking about the trees, I'm just thinking, the trees are having a breath, because it's like if we're trees and nature was just being completely ignored,
bombarded with all that toxins and all our cars and all the rest of it.
Unbelievable. And so all these stories are our experiences of this individual world, this life after. They're all titles of our world, of how happy we really were, because we weren't happy, because at the end of the day ourselves weren't happy. Impossible to be happy in a world where this has been our history that we haven't really looked at. It's like the outer world has been our history, so we've adopted everything that we have is what we've adopted. So this is a pause button to say, okay, what are you going to adopt now? How are you going to be? How are you going to reset? This is the reset. What are you going to do differently? Because if we don't, we're going back to what we were. Our world will just be completely destroyed. But it's
and if you think about it, it's the same thing, isn't it? It's like in any relationship, isn't it? It's like, right, you've done that to offend me. How are we going to go forward? And if we can't see a way that we can, okay, that was a bit of me, my stuff. Oh, that was your stuff. How can we can't move?
No, that's the thing.
Forward, can we? Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Eric?
And that was a lovely point, that Eric said earlier. I really take that on board, because I'm in something similar, where I want to have a meeting with my mum and do some work for the greater good of the families, everything. But it's something that's not been able to, I've been fearful of for so long, you know what I mean? And I know she's got her own perspective now, and I'm kind of, since having the grade 4 metastatic breast cancer diagnosis, all the rest of it, was you know, almost like, going, I was trying to get to this point. I knew it was coming, if you know what I mean. I was in this tidal wave, and I was thinking if I could just get over, you know, into the new world as it was, because I knew psychologically I was dying because I couldn't live any longer in that. The tension was too much.
Yeah.
Too much.
Yeah, totally. Totally. There's a couple of people that need to go. Sharika, thank you so much. Catherine, thank you so much for being here. Great to see you. And hopefully we'll see you soon. I'm going to send the recording out once it's been done to everybody. I wasn't sure how long we were going to be today, so thank you so much for being here. I don't know how long we've been on. Eric, you just wanted to say something?
It's time for me to split. I got some people waiting on me.
No worries. Great to have seen you today and for your contribution.
Brilliant.
I'm going to send out the video so you can get to see the rest of the video as well. So hopefully,
Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Much love to you.
Nice to meet everybody and see everybody. Hi, Jerry Lee.
Thanks.
And I'll talk to you guys later.
Yeah,
Love
cheers.
you all.
Love you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much. And so, I so I know Sharika's still got a couple of minutes. So life after simply being, what else have we got on here? Because I do want to get on to the next, there we go. A life after stress, anxiety and depression. The reason why, luckily for me, I was given stress, anxiety and depression as from the doctor, but that's another story. But I wanted to, the reason why I put out stress, anxiety and depression, because at the time they were very taboo words, but that's what the doctor had given me. So I could have chosen life after social work, life after divorce. I could have chosen so many different titles, but I chose stress, anxiety and depression because I wanted people who had felt that emotional loneliness. I wanted them to connect with those words and think, I'm not on my own. So I wanted those taboo words, which now, I mean, everybody's talking about it. It's kind of like out of date, you know, but I wanted those words to really connect. Life After Shame is a lady from Australia, and SAHAM means something. And actually, Jerry, I haven't, your title's not on here, which I thought that it was. So it's obviously meant for you just to tell us what your title was and what your experience has been.
Well, I think it's not there because it wasn't relevant anymore, because I've written this book since then.
Yeah.
My first book was Life After Chaos, but that was before the passing of my husband last year, and we're coming up to the first year death anniversary in 3 days' time. So the second book was Life Beyond Grief, and that was probably a more relevant story now. And it is about moving away from attachments or the forgottenness. We've forgotten our divinity, and that was something that I had to come full circle with once I lost the love of my life, because he was the reflection of this love. And since very recently, finding Mother God and my connection to Source, to divine essence, the story that I'd written prior to that, you kind of empty the vessel, you empty the baggage, you empty the murky water so that the bucket or the vessel that we are can be filled back with pure love. And that's as simple as it gets, but you really need to be committed to that vulnerability, because in that vulnerability is your strength. And you can not experience that or feel that until you go through the process. It's not something that you can talk about. We're sharing our experience of it, but until you're there, until you're sitting and you're listening to someone else's story, then you're reading your own, and all these triggers come up and all these emotions come up, you're not releasing. And that's the beauty of the process, is that it is an experiential, transformative process.
Beautiful. And do you know what, Jolie? I also, because Jolie was the first person to challenge the process as a pioneer, to say, I want to do this. And so Jolie stepped into that space of co-creating, which if you notice on the title, it's Anthea, but it's not Anthea, it's author and co-create and creator. The process was always a co-creation process. But I didn't know, I mean, that was words that we used 20 years, like I said, we're hearing the word more now, co-creating, and even the terminology is facilitator of change. They weren't terms that were being used years ago, but they were divinely given. It was just so easy to do this process, to put it all together. There was no effort. It was all divine. And so even as facilitators of change, Terry, you've got something to say there? Well, let's unmute you.
Yes, I'm so grateful for all this information. It's really touched my heart. And I'm guided by my angels that as I was writing down the information to write my story, I thought, when it's completed, I'm going to do a ceremony and burn it and let it all go.
Yeah.
Send it to the galactic central sun for processing and transformation to the highest light. And then we can release it from ourselves.
Absolutely.
And I think that would be helpful for everyone.
Absolutely. Thank you, Terry. And that was one of the reasons why on this week, it was about, the greatest storybook of the world. It's kind of like, never judge a book by its cover, because all the covers are the same. But at the same time, to have all these stories and then to be able to just release them. That's what we're doing each moment that we're doing. It's fantastic. I hear that so strong. Beautiful. And so thank you, Jerry Lee. So Jerry Lee was the first person to step into co-creating this process. And Jerry Lee's husband, Neil, he was part of that process. And so when we do the process, we record the sessions. And I was just told to record the sessions. And I was kind of like, why are we recording? Because there's a lot of, we don't do anything with the recordings. And then when Neil passed, the children have got a memory of the father sharing his story. That was why we recorded the story, because they've got that memory there. And so that, for me, was a real precious, just questioning divine and then getting the answer, And so it was wonderful to have met Neil and for Jerry Lee to have facilitated. And we have some precious moments going through that process. And yeah, he's still around. He's here. So any more questions on the storytelling process there? Because I think, Kimberly, are you because you're the newbie as well with Terry, how are you doing? Oh, I'm sorry.
Can you hear me? I have headphones in.
Now, yeah.
Oh. It's beautiful. I have so many ideas going through my head. I have always wanted to write a book since I was a kid, and I just never, ever knew where to start. It's really beautiful, and I look forward to reading everybody else's story.
Bless you. I think it's really interesting. A lot of people will say that they've got a book inside of them. This process was about, how do we all get onto the same page? And how do we all talk about the same issues that's enslaved us, really? How do we free ourselves from that? And so the process is in 5 parts. And the first part is kind of the programming that we're all part of. Just there's some specific parts that are about programming. I can see it really clearly now. The second part is kind of like our relation to those programming. So we touch on what we're meant to touch on, but there is a theme that goes through. So people talk about the pursuit of happiness, and that triggers up kind of like this thing of, actually, yeah, do you know what? So they start thinking about, well, school and work and family. And then halfway through the book, because the way that I saw the book was like a concertina. So I just drew these little images and just had this concertina. And as I just did 11 sides of this book, I didn't think there's actually 22 sides. But as you get to the last page of the concertina, there's a half of the bridge on the last page. So the other half is on the other side. And it was just like, oh my gosh, this concertina of just these pictures. So the other side was about that there's duality taking place. There's the external world and there's the internal world. So as we tell our story of this outside experience, we then turn the page halfway through and talk about the inner journey, the seedling being nurtured with values and, tapping into actually what is the core of our being, which is that same conversation. So by the time you get to the end of the book, you've grown into this ambassador of change. So you've gone through, and I think Jerry Lee had said, which I just always remember, she was like, because we send the chapters in parts, because you know what it's like, you get a book and you want to read from the beginning to the end. That's not what this book is. You start reading, there's 2/3 of it that you read, and then the next part you write your story. And then the next part is, so it's in 3 parts, again, that trinity. And Jerry Lee had got to one point and she said, oh my gosh, I realised, she turned the page and it was like, it's me. I'm the one, I'm there. But that was just brilliant because she was just going with the flow like we all do. But just to have reflected that, it just reminded me of that inner child of like, oh, it's me that I'm looking at. It's me that's doing the work. It's like, yeah, so it's gifting you back to you. That's what the process does. It kind of like takes us on a journey of going outside of ourselves to bring us right down the bark of the tree into the seedling. And then you recognize, oh my gosh, it's me. And what am I going to gift to the world? So that's the tell your story process. When I was doing the tell your story process, this is the last part. It's going to be relatively quick. It's going to be what it's going to be, isn't it? So the nurturing of the seedling, I just found that I was doing the tell your story. So this is a bit of a confession. I was just so impatient. I was like, come on. I just had a conversation. I was like, right, come on, Mother God. I love doing this work, but I'm not being funny. It's not really bringing me joy because this is just me. People are just taking the time, and it's like, I want more people to experience it. And it's like, if this is what I'm meant to do for the rest of my life, then can I just have a bit of joy, please? Just to make it just so that I'm happy waking up and happy that people are just going on the path and just ignoring or coming back whenever they want to and not being respectful. And then I sat with a piece of paper and pen, and within an hour, Empower in an Hour was formed. And in the actual fact, it was the nurturing game, which was a bit of it was called the nurturing game. But what I found was that sometimes we can nurture too much. And so, it's like you can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. So what I had to realize is that somebody had said, I can hear you saying empower in an hour. So I turned it around. I thought it's still the nurturing game because that's what I love to do. But instead of smothering people with love, it's kind of like empower, gift it. So this is Empower in an Hour, which is the same process as we go through the book. These are the same issues. So the book is like a manual for the game. And so within the hour, the game is formed, and that's what we've got. And so right now we're at the cusp. So I don't know if you can see the screen, but what Jerilyn was talking about is that Jerilyn's children are actually creating these counters. So if you can see there, we've got the little counters. I don't know if you can see that on the screen. So we've actually got the 3D form of the counters. So we've got time, we've got health, and these are just little thymos that Jerilyn's children are making. We've got the little rainbow. And so what I've been doing for the past 10 years, because this game is 10 years old, which is hard to believe, is playing the game Empower in an Hour. So because everybody was so busy in the world, it was like, look, I just need an hour of your time to play the game. And what the game does, you can see down the side, is you have a little action plan card. And everybody who's on today is got an opportunity to play. So we just need to book a session to be able to do that. So we have a little action plan card, which is here in my hands, but it's also on the screen. So because of the quarantine, we've had to work to adapt it to be different, which is brilliant. So it's just like, honestly, the plans that have gone in my head of how do we get it out there into the world. So what happens is you get emailed the card, and you can either print them off or just make a note on a notepad. And then we sit and play the game. I throw the dice at this end. So it's a very interactive. So I went along to Ireland and played the game with a young man. And it was so funny because he said to me, he asked me, what do I do? And I said, I've got this game. He's 14-year-old at the time. And he said, game? And his eyes lit up. And I thought, oh no. I thought I've just crossed over into like territory that is not my territory. I was like, no, it's not a gaming app. It's not it was like gaming. But what was really interesting was he was so keen to help me get my bags out of the car and stuff. I was volunteering at the time. And it's like, where's the game? So I took the game out, and the game is in a tube. You can see here, transformation. I mean, if this was not guided by Mother Earth, then it's like, you know what? I'll heat my heart. And so what it does, what I think is, it's a tube, obviously. And that tube for me is the bridge of transition. So people are coming in through this end and they have no idea, you know, it's like you look at that and it's all dark. There isn't anything, you know, it's just dark. So we're all in the unknown, but we've got a certainty. The certainty is that we're all the same and that we're all going through the same experience, and we're sharing that, and we're sharing our vulnerability. So this has been waiting for 10 years to be gifted as a baton passed over to people. And so right now, the goal is to have this game. I believe that this is the game that changed the world, to do it with fun, you know, and it can only have been through Mother Earth. When I look at all the little counters, the like little sweets, and when we pass, and that's the sad thing about this process at the moment, but we are going to make them available for people to be able to work within their communities and to expand it out. But what this young boy said when he was playing the game, he was like, oh, and it was his hand on his chest that just spoke volumes, because he rubbed his chest and he just said, oh, thank you so much. He said just the release, and that was a 14-year-old who had this pressure on his chest that just by talking through this process just allowed him to free himself. And that was just like, oh my gosh, this game has to be out there for everybody to experience. And because it's so fun and it's unique and it's coaching, it's mentoring, it's counseling, it's everything that you can possibly think of. But the way that you get to it is through sharing your story, to release any triggers around money, around time, around health, around personal development, because none of us have really fully gone through these processes in relation to how our world has, has forgotten about these. So our world has never asked us, well, how important is your health? You know, money doesn't grow on trees is one of the common messages that people say in the story. And when you think about poverty mindset, yeah, we have got a poverty mindset because it's been part of the education system. So this is really the fun part of, so this is what was gifted and this is the gift. So my goal, I'm thinking, is that what's going to happen is as people play the game and experience it, that's the first thing. I ask people to give their testimony of what they've experienced. I need more people to learn to train to facilitate it. But the training, as you know, is just going through your story. So once you've gone through your story, you're able to facilitate. I invite people to have a handful of people to experience it with, so it builds the confidence. Because often we don't know what we don't know until it's challenged, until we sit there and we start going through and playing the game. Because I'm terrible, because I'm like, I'm hand-holding you. I'm hand-holding you. I'm hand-holding you. But then recently I've just been like, no, do you know what? Just do it. By doing it and just pushing people into it, it's been liberating for people just to experience it by just doing that. But they don't need to be nurtured they don't need, I mean, we're all walking, we've all done this over and over again. It's about building confidence, and I didn't want people to feel like that they didn't have all the information, but we've got all the information. It's just that we just access it by bringing it all out. So that's where so what's going to happen is people will get the game and they'll be able to facilitate people with the game, and then what we're asking people for is a donation, and then that donation gets split 50-50, and 50% of that goes to the schools. So 50% of the donations goes to the Crystal School funding, and it also as well pays for the game to be put onto an app, so that then there's an app that's being built. I meant to bring that information actually today. The app is being built where people can use the game. It's probably a bit too much information, but people can use the game, but create like a practice, create a spiritual practice, a heart-centered practice by using the game as a, you know, like if somebody was a coach or really a facilitator of change. So we're asking people, come and experience, have you been empowered in an hour? And the intention is to create a little quirky campaign in many ways of, you know, how we brought fun to helping to create change in our world. So there's a lot of options there really, but I'm just throwing those in. But first thoughts from what you see, I hope you can see it. You can all see the screen, can't you? Anybody got any feedback? I know Geraldine's played the game. Sharika's played the game as well. Yeah. Sharika, I know you've got to go. What was your experience?
The game was great. The game, actually, things that, I've been on my personal journey here for a few years now. And, things that I thought that I had actually worked through, on the process. What the game did for me is the game kind of shed light on things that I still wasn't, that I hadn't resolved or whatever. And it brought some things back up that I thought that, oh, I'm done with that part of the journey, and that I was well on my way. But it triggered some things to come up that I was able to go back and continue to work through and deal with and heal. So it definitely works. Let me say that. I mean, the game, and it's easy, it's fun, and it's amazing to just think about consciousness and how energy work, because you can't hide from it. That's the beauty. That's what I love about energy, is it doesn't matter what you're saying on the outside, energy does not lie. And that's what the game is going to do. The game is going to let you know what's hiding again underneath that you're refusing to look at.
Yeah. Thank you, Sharika. It's lovely to hear the feedback, honestly, because these are gifts from the universe. They're gifts back to humanity. That's what they were presented with, gifts back to humanity. So, you look at that middle bit of the spiral. I didn't even see the spiral when I first drew it. I just drew a circle and lines. That was it. It was when I saw the design that I was like, oh my gosh, it's a spiral, which is like the most powerful. It's like, that is just, what a gift. I knew that the elements were really important.
Yes.
The sun and and in fact, the children are founders of this. My two children, I just drew this all the time on the flip chart, and I have the sun, because I was like, right, happiness. If the sun brings us happiness, often we feel a lot better from the sun. The rain brings the rain to nourish. That's important. But people are sad around the rain often, and money. People are often sad around money. So that's how they came together. And then the children said to me, but hold on a moment, if you've got the sun and the rain, where's the rainbow? And that's when I realized. So it was so innocent. I was like, oh my goodness, that's what I'm doing all this for, was the hopes and dreams. I was working, managing a voluntary organization and doing this alongside. So I always knew that the funding that I had whilst I was employed was to go back into producing these as products, just to produce them as gifts. I get paid for the products. People buy the products, but then we put the money back into the school. So we're constantly recycling the funds for the teachers that are in the school as well. So the student fees go back to the teachers. That's how I've been told to do it. It could never work in the energy before. It could never be. People were like, well, Anthea, why don't you put your prices on the website? It's like, because nobody could afford the amount of energy that's been put into this. They couldn't afford it. But because that's not the new energy, that's not the new currency. So what we ask people to do is to buy the experience, to donate towards the game, and to donate towards, it's a £5 project. It's like, I can't believe that I've been able to make it a £5 project, because it is a £5 project. And if we can work from it being a £5 project, and that £5 gets paid forward and split into different ways, it's like we're going to produce a miracle, but it's going to take thousands of us. That's the challenge. But Jerry Lee, you experienced the game. You've experienced the game. Your daughter's experienced the game. You've experienced the game, and then you had a community event where we did a group session of the game, which was brilliant to do it online, because it works. It was like, oh my gosh, I'll be able to do it. So tell us your experience.
So, like Sharika says, we can all talk the talk, but can you walk it? And so with the action plan on the other side of this card, you're really not forced, but in a fun way, to reflect on, well, how are you backing that with love and action? How are you actually bringing that into physical form? If those are your dreams or aspirations, what are your limitations? What are your self-doubts that prevent you from moving forward? And this is why this is so amazing for teenagers as well as children. I mean, children naturally gravitate to this because it's fun, and it's just, but it's more so for the teenagers who start to lose their essence, their divinity, that connection. brings them back to a sense of magic. And in these changing times, when we have to define what a leadership is about, then that's where you explore these questions and themes to go, okay, well, where do I sit? I mean, do you know yourself well enough? And if you don't, then this is a perfect opportunity to find and explore that.
So thank you, Geraldine. It's actually really amazing, because when I was putting it together, I didn't actually have my name on it. I didn't put my name on it because I knew it was a gift back to humanity. And it was only by being challenged by people saying, "What, are you ashamed of it?" It was like, no, I'm not ashamed of it. But when the designer put her details on it, I was kind of like, okay, because she put them in really bold letters, and I thought, okay, that's telling me that I need to put my name on it. So it's a gift back to humanity, but it's one of those, it had to be protected in terms of copyright. But in actual fact, when we do the next run, it's like, I would love just to have no name on there, because it is a gift back to humanity, but I had to stamp it really to bring my value and worth into stamping it onto that space, really. So it is a gift back to humanity. And what's exciting is the app is very expensive, but it's only expensive if it's just one person. But collectively, the intention is that everybody who facilitates the game, after they've experienced it, are able to contribute towards, like I said, the Crystal Schools. Once we've paid for the app, then it means that it spreads out to more people. And it really is just an amazing. I love it. I remember one day that I was really stuck. Every person who's gone through this process, I dissect everything. That's part of, I forensically dissect everything. That's just part of what I've had to do to make sure to hold this process in the highest of regard. And so this particular day, there was a couple of people that were really disgruntled about something. And for the whole weekend, I held on to this, trying to work out different ways of why were they disgruntled. I didn't quite understand it. And it got to the Friday after, like, over the weekend, and a friend had said to me, "Why don't you play the game?" And so I said, "Oh yeah, actually." So we both sat down to play the game. Oh my gosh, just releasing what was in my head, working out, was just so powerful that I just like, gosh, I love this game. That's how it makes me feel every single time, because it's just amazing. It blends with your personality. It's amazing. So if anybody's talking about spiritual development and, all those people that are doing tarot cards and things like that are just old school, this process is transformational for the person not only facilitating it, but for those experiencing it as well. And if that was a marketing campaign, then do you know what? I'm just talking from passion. But yeah, I just want you to experience it. That's what I want you to do, because it's only by you experiencing it that you'll realize just what it can do. So any questions, anything, because that's more or less the end. Terry?
Yes. Where can I buy it?
Oh, bless you. You can come and use it, but you'll find out, yeah, it's a funny thing, because thank you so much, Sharika. Thank you for sharing the space. See you soon. Thank you so much. Oh, bless you. Thank you for all that you do, the loving connection, enjoying. Yeah, do you know what? For me, this is about all of us sharing a space of love. That's what it's all about. Just being our authentic self is all it's about. So thank you so much, Sharika. So yeah, Terry, it will be available, but I'm not sure when. But
Can I suggest that you sell it on Love Has Won?
I'm working with Love Has Won.
Okay.
But what I needed to do is, I needed to have this meeting today. I needed to have the recording so I can send it to Mom, so that she can see the beauty of it all. And also, as well, what's the other thing? It can go up on Love Has Won. I'm just not sure how the system.
They have a system that you can advertise on their site.
Yeah.
So if you talk with any of the ground crew, they'll explain it all to you. I don't know the details, because I've never tried to sell, and no, I never have. But I know it's advertised right there.
Yeah.
So, and everyone that's on Love Has Won will see it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of the people that are on Love Has Won would love to play it. So
Yeah, absolutely. I'm hoping that as well, because I know that these tools are ascension tools, and they are for people that are awake. I've been looking at people that have been not as awake, and so that's why it's been hard as well, you know. So it's going to be interesting with people that are more awake, because we need 10,000 facilitators. That's what we need.
Oh, okay.
So it's
Yeah.
a big it won't
Well,
work.
millions watch Love Has Won.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's
you'll have a huge, fan base.
yeah, and that
And
was
maybe we all can play it on Love Has Won.
yeah, definitely. Well, I tell you what. Well, actually, I'm going to switch on to the next slide, because then this might help with what you've just said as well, there, Terry.
Okay.
Because let's just have a see. Thank you for that feedback, everybody, because I haven't done I could have put some extra things in. The game provides lots of clarity. It provides crystalline focus. It's just there's so many things to it. My slides, I haven't let's hope that it moves on from that. My slides have got stuck. No, I know what I did. So the ways that you can help, and thank you, Terry, because you've just introduced us into the ways that we can help. And one of them, is definitely to be able to work with Love Has Won much closer to find out what the system is. I'm in touch with Elmora and with Faith as well, and Mom Direct, because I just wanted to bring her joy with. I know she's going to love this presentation, but I've been excited to get it done, but also there's a perfectionism as well that I have to get over, because it's like I want everything to be perfect, you know. And it's kind of like even just leading up to doing the presentation was just like, Anthea, let it go. Just do what you've got. You've had 20 years to do this. Come on, you know. So it's kind of like get it out there, and so it's like, let's just build it as we're going. You know, it's not. I think because a lot of the way that I've worked has been because the ego mind of others have questioned this so much that they've helped me to dissect it. So it's kind of now it's working just from the heart, and to work with a group of people that are working from the heart is just going to be heaven on earth. So ways that we can empower: one, tell your story. You know, for me, that's the key for all this, is to tell your story. Walk your talk, so that we're bringing authenticity to the planet. We're bringing integrity. We're bringing heart, love, and compassion to humanity. And we're actually raising our voices and being seen. And what I've realized is that there's a lot of highly sensitive people who have not been seen. You know, we're on here today, and it's great, but our voices have never been heard. We've never been able to fully. I lost my voice in January for a whole month and a half almost. And I knew that it was just before I had my surgery with Mom. And it was because I was being told, now is the time to speak out. Because at the end, this has been hiding from the world in many ways, even though I've been underground doing, as you can see, a lot. But this is about saying now is the time. So I knew as soon as my voice was back, it was like, right, that is it. I've got to speak more than just to one-on-one people. It's got to be a lot of people. So this is the platform of making it happen. So the launch today was all part of pulling this together and putting it all together and just saying, right, here we go. Becoming a co-creator. You know, many of us will shy away from being a co-creator because we might think, oh, I couldn't possibly do that. Being a co-creator is co-creating this new earth, is doing it together. We're not used to working together. We've talked about separation. We're not used to working together. So the process of telling your story helps us to detox and declutter from all those missed messages, and naturally brings us into working together. It naturally brings us into, I think, Jerry Lee, would you agree with that? Yeah.
Yes, definitely. And it's all to do with trust and trusting yourself. It's a self-worth as well. And then it all ties into self-confidence, self-love. And if you're not brave enough to step into the unknown, then there's no hope. So this is all the challenges, to take it on yourself. And that's what I've done, is I've trusted all the way. Like Anthea would not have the next step. We can't see it. Like Lovers One has always said, you can't see the next bit, but trust this moment, and this moment is here, and this is what it's about, this co-creating.
And it's funny, Geraldine, because while we're on that place, it's like, let's just go there, shall we? When you first started the process of the Tell Your Story, would you say that you've got the same kind of mentality now that you had then? Because you was challenging so much, if you remember those, not that much, but you wanted things a certain way.
Definitely, I am a very different person now because the left brain dominated my world, and it was all I knew, and it was all that was a part of interpreting the world. And so when I dropped all that, I came into a place of trust, and then I trusted the process from there. And so anything that triggers me, I recognize now that's triggering the left brain.
Yeah.
And the right brain always trusts, and it's that integration. It is moving from the 3D to the 5D, and this process is definitely a reflection of that.
Yeah, bless you, Jolie, because I know that at the time when I was being challenged by, people were saying, well, there's no numbers on the pages, and there's no chapters, it's not called chapters, and when I'm printing it out, I don't know what I'm printing out, and it's like I'm losing some really, and they weren't from Jolie, but it really challenged me to kind of like to stay in true integrity for the process, because it was kind of like, do you know what, hold on a minute, why haven't we got, it's like, you don't need page numbers. No, we don't need to. It's like, we'll get organized. But it was really to stand in that space, and that for me is what we're called to do when we're on mission, that we just have to hold space and just say, okay, well, let's just put that mirror there, and let's hopefully you get past that. So I thank you so much, Jolie, because your transparency helped for the process to hold its integrity, to not be freaked out by all that. So, it's all really, really good, really good. Join us on the Ambassadors of Change. I think everybody who maybe watches this is probably an ambassador, but if you're not an ambassador, then do, get involved in the facilitating that I'm doing on the page. Share your stories every day I'm there, sharing a story from the chapters. You'll see it more now maybe, but the chapters are there in the themes every day, so that we can then start thinking about time, money, health, personal development on a regular basis of actually, where do I sit with that right now? Because part of this process is about learning how to be able to help somebody to put food on the table. So even if it isn't for you, by going through the process means that you're able to help somebody to put food on the table, which right now is a valuable asset for many people. So no longer is it, oh no, okay, it's not for me. It's like, actually, what can I do? And to allow the process to unfold in your heart, because that's what it does. Become a member. We have a membership at some point when I get it set up. And I need to do that, actually. I do need to do that, which is just going to be a £5 a month membership for people to contribute, so that then, I guess my goal is that as families are coming on board, we don't want any of this process to be a barrier. I don't want anybody to think, I can't do that because I can't afford it. Or it's always been about, look, this is inclusive of everybody. You just have to have the will to be able to do it from the heart. Share posts. Some of my posts, I think, aren't being seen on Facebook. People are telling me they can't see when I'm putting posts up there. So share posts. It's perfectly fine for you to share anything that I send. If you're not, actually, it comes up in a minute. So yeah, join the Ambassadors of Change. Share, certainly just share, and take action, because in taking action, it means that you're actually in right action, taking action for good. Play the game. That's the first one. I don't know why that didn't come up first, but play the game and take the steps slowly, because I say slowly, take the steps. If you have got a paper and pen, this is another way that you're able to help, is to create your own toolkit.now.site. That is, I mean, you might already have signed up to there. You'll realize that my social media, even though I've got social media skills, there's still an art of how to do things and when to do things. So even though this process was set up today, nobody received the invitation, which is kind of like, how can that be? So, we have to go back and check all that out. So create your own toolkit.now.site. Quite happy for you to share that. Share anything that's on here, you can share with other people. the Create Your Own Toolkit is more or less this process. This presentation will go up on there as well at some point. But that is where we start off with you'll get a welcome note after you've signed up, and the welcome will tell you the different steps that we go through. And so one of them is to register with YouTube, if you're on YouTube, to go to Empowering Angel on YouTube and to subscribe there. And again, this isn't about for publicity and fame. This is just about getting the message out there. This is a big message for lots of people. And there's lots of videos that I've been videoing for over 2 years now. Never thought that I would be on social media as much as I am. I've had lots of marriage proposals. So, you know, it is a way, I guess, of getting out there as a single woman. Yeah, no, but I'm not. It's like, no, you're all right. We're busy. We've got a world to change, you know. And we've also, so including New Formula is where you can sign up for the book process. Again, feel free to share that space as well. And then join the Ambassadors of Change. If you haven't done, become a member. You'll see that on the Create Your Own Toolkit. Share the post, take action. That's what I'd said before, didn't I? And those are just some extra ways to help with a bit of clarity there. And what else? And register. Yeah, to register. Because even just by registering just means that it just gives me hope, really, because as you can imagine, it's been a lonely journey. It's been a very lonely journey. We know that mums have that lonely journey as well. So every time I hear her, I just like, you know what, I'm there with you, mum, because it is a lonely journey, but it doesn't have to be lonely. This is meant to be co-creating. So every action that we take in this space, everything that we do in this space, every comment we make, every like we make on a post, it's all part of that right action, loving right action. That's what it is. And it just brings so much joy to mom. It's going to bring joy to mom because it's bringing joy to our mom who's inside of us. It's igniting all of us. So it's just a win-win all around. So I really encourage you to do that. And the ultimate is to bring about this seedlings reaching their full potential, having self-actualization, stepping into a space of just allowing that vulnerability, just allowing our true selves where we find that joy and find that innocence, that awe, that wonder, that creativity, that authenticity. All of that is in this space as we step into a new way of being, working together with each other like never before, being able to have that vitality, you know, seeing people light up when I invite them to share, seeing people doing public speaking, really just stepping up and sharing from the confidence within from doing this process. You know, some people were kind of, oh, I couldn't possibly speak on camera. We do, and we do it because of our love for the greater good. There's no point in playing small, actually. This is about demonstrating our child, that inner child that was stunted. Playfulness, really important. Meaningfulness, doing meaningfulness work, and building sustainability. The sustainability comes from us. It comes from us building our sustainability in terms of our self-care, and ultimately as we self-care, mother's got our back and we're sorted. It's kind of like, you know what, that's where the faith comes from. It comes from our source. It comes from where we came from. I have to thank every single one of you who's watching this video. I have to thank everybody who's participated today, because you've just lit my world up. And I know that Mum's going to be so proud of everybody turning up today and contributing. She's going to see all our faces, which is just going to be amazing, which is like, I'll download it and send it to her straight away, you know. But if you've got any questions or anything that you want to say about today's event, I just have to thank you so much for being here. But anything that you want to say, feel free. I'll just do the stop the share on the screen so we can see our faces much bigger. There we go.
Just wanted to thank you, Anthea, for your love and your passion and your commitment to this process. I know it's not been an easy journey for you, and I support you all the way, and I love you, and I love you, every single person on here. It's great to meet you.
Bless you. Thank you, Jerry. And I love your involvement in this process. You're constantly helping to evolve this process. So I have to thank you because you've been part of who I had to meet. You know, it's like you are my soul sister. We've always said, "Ooh," the connections has just been amazing and you've helped it to accelerate. And I have to thank you for that so much. Thank you. Anybody else? There's only a small handful of Terry.
Yes, I'd like to thank you very much too. And I also realized that I can actually use the game for my family who is asleep. They had surgery, so I'm hoping that they will be ready for it soon. So when I get the game, I'm going to ask them to play. And my friends too. I have a family that I had a friend's family that I did the surgeries for, and I want to play the game with them and anyone that's waking up. It could help them all. So you don't really even know how much you've created to maybe really help the world.
I do believe that. I do believe that. And absolutely. And it's going to take each of us. I thank you so much, Terry, because that's what this is about. It's about all of us doing a little bit to be able to bring it transformation. And what I would love is that once we play the game, then we can talk about how we can make that happen whilst we're still in quarantine, because the physical game you won't necessarily be able to get just yet. But certainly in terms of being able to play around with it, it'd be fantastic to witness that journey. So yeah, if you're up for that, that'd be wonderful. But yeah, I know that it's going to take an army of us. It's just going to take so many of us to take it and to feed back, because that's what Mum wants. She wants to know the impact of what these tools are doing for humanity. So yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Terry. I really
thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate your contributions, and honestly, every day that you're there and you're making comments and you're loving, and that's so powerful and so important, and I have to thank you greatly for that.
Yes, and the same right back at you.
Thank you. Thank you. Kimberly is our newbie. How have you? I'm so excited because I knew, you know, Mom has put people in front of me that have resonated by just looking at the name, and I'm like, oh, okay. You know, and your name was one of those names, Kimberly. I was like, okay, I know I've got to have a conversation with Kimberly Rose. So yeah, I'm so glad that you was able to make it today.
Me too. I'm so glad. I haven't been able to really look into what this project is until just the other day, and it's definitely something that I'm feeling called to do, and I was led here for a reason, and I really look forward to learning more about what it is, the game especially, and starting to get my story written, and I'm just really excited about it. And thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, the first step is definitely the play the game. So if we can organise a time, both you and Tim. I mean, I don't know whether or not we do that. We might do. I mean, we could do a collective game. You know, we can play the game collectively, just so that you get to experience that as well. So we can do that, because I know Andrew's up for that as well, and brilliant. So maybe we can make a time to do that. Now that we've got a bit of time. And if the time doesn't work out, then we can always do it one-to-one. But yeah, maybe that's what we need to do, is to continue this conversation, because I do know that once a game has been tried and tested by many people, it's just going to take another layer. It's just like we're looking at, right, okay, we've got it. Process to tell your story process is we've got 10 characteristics of a well-run community. And I went over to Ireland, just tell you this really quick story. I went over to Ireland, and so the young boy who played the game, I was volunteering, and I saw this event, Awake and Aware. And I thought, oh, wow, that's, oh, gosh, it's amazing. That's just fantastic, only in Ireland. So I went along, and I had my book. And that's the beauty, actually, of having the book to a degree. But I know this, I handed the book to the organisers and said, I'd love to be on stage next time you know, because that had been a dream from mine from being very young, from being about 4, of being on stage and talking to people, thousands of people. From being about 8, I remember this dream of talking to thousands of people. So I thought, brilliant, in Ireland, because Ireland's got so much history for me, and another story, and Andrea as well. So I go over to Ireland, give them the book. They said, right, okay, next year we'll get it sorted. They invited me to go. This is how the divine works. I had 40 years waiting for this moment. I was like, oh my gosh, this is just going to be amazing. So I'm preparing all the work. I go over to Ireland. The time's playing up a little bit, but it's like it's okay for the time. I get over onto the ferry, get off the ferry. Within 10 minutes, middle of the dual carriageway, the car just stopped. So it's like, right, okay. And I've just got a tendency to cry when these kind of like shock things come. So it's like sat in the middle of thinking, oh my gosh, what am I meant to do? And so a chap stopped at the side of me and was like, are you all right? I was like, so he got out of the car, he pushed the car, and then that was it. What unfolded was just it just wasn't funny, but it was now looking back. So Storm Emma, which is the first time in history in Ireland of maybe about 50 years, maybe beyond that, 100 years, I can't remember, decided that the snow was going to fall so heavy, it closed the whole of Ireland down for the weekend. So I was there 40 years of like, right, that's it, I'm going to be doing this stuff. And it was like, okay, the event's not taking place. And I was like, no, hold on a minute. What do you mean the event's not taking place? I thought that the truck driver who picked me up, I thought he was asking me out on a date, because he said, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? What was it? What are you doing tomorrow? And I said, it's a bit inappropriate. And he said, it's just that the whole of Ireland's been closed down. I was like, oh my gosh, you're joking. So it was closed down for the weekend. So that's how Mother God was like, you are not doing that event the way that you think you're going to do it. So I went to my friends. I got the cost for the car to be towed was something like £300 or €300, which is probably about $500, something like that maybe. So I got towed down to my friends. My friend was saying to me, I don't get you. I said, what do you mean? She said, why are you so calm? Because it's like your car's broken down. You have no idea what you're doing after this event that's not going to take place. And I was just like, I just have to trust. So that's how, we're presented with these things. Then I decided that because we'd organised everything online, I just thought, you know what, I'm closing the event. So I'm going to go on Facebook and I'm going to do my Facebook Live. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do it on Facebook. I knew it. So that was it. So I put my laptop, which wasn't mine. It was a borrowed laptop. I didn't own a laptop. And I sat with the computer. The light behind me, it was light to start off with, and then it started to go dim. But there was a light in the hallway far behind, and it's all really relevant. It's right in front of us. So as I'm presenting, and I've got this big book presenting the storytelling, and I'm talking about as I'm talking to the camera, and people in the chat box are saying, we can't see you, we can't switch the light on, we can't see you. And other people were saying, it doesn't matter, just listen to what she's saying. So this darkness was just emerged. So by the time I'd finished the presentation, dot on time, I'd never timed it, dot on time with 15 minutes for questions. I looked up and just thought, oh my gosh, I said, you can't actually see me. I said, let me just unplug. So I unplugged the camera and walked into the light. And it was like out of the dark, immersion. My friend was like, it looked so powerful. It was just like it was meant to be. It was all like, it wasn't rehearsed or anything. So it's like you just emerged, and it was just like, wow, what a breath of fresh air. After that event, I ended up getting an ASBO. They decided not to invite me back because of revealing the dark. That was the bottom line. I revealed the truth. And as a result of that, they just said, we actually don't want you to come back, because actually maybe you're just a bit you're more aware and awake than what we are. That was the bottom line. I was like, wow. Absolutely. I mean, I was heartbroken. I was heartbroken by the whole process, but it was to do with racism. But I don't see racism, obviously. It's the way that I was being treated by somebody. It was like, okay, I was asked to leave on St. Patrick's Day in the snow. It started to snow again. It was just like, wow, there's a reason for this. But and there was a reason for it all. But yeah, I ended up getting an ASBO. So I thought, I don't mind if it's to do with the truth and I get an ASBO for speaking the truth. I'm all right with that. So I love saying that I've got an ASBO, because that's perfectly all right for me. But yeah, so, but the event still went on, and, you know, 8 months later, and people have to live with a conscience, you know, but that was my experience of mothers saying, you are not doing that event, because if I had have just stayed quiet, I would have gone back to have done that event, and I would have been supporting shadow work. And what it made me do was to come back and get my website sorted out, and to reveal the hidden aspects of truth. So it was all good. It was all good. So Andrea, I know you're the last person to finish off this event for us today.
Oh, well, I just love your stories, and you're just brilliant. As you know, I love you to bits, and I just think, you know, you've told me those stories, you laugh so hard, haven't we? Like, you just remind me of my dad. He was always like that. He said, "Get Mr. Christian out of here," because he was doing his own, you know, his own pioneering in them days. Right. But I think it's so powerful what you're doing, and if we can, because, you know, like I said, I am apologising because I just kind of got, I'm always trying to get there, but it was, you know, I knew the time I had to clear so much stuff for me. The last few weeks have been unbelievable, but good. You know, I knew it was what was needed, because I'd also said that, you know, 20 years ago, saying when the kids are done, I'll get on with doing this, and then I can get on with doing that where I want to be with you guys. So if we can arrange, I wanted to do the game. If we can do that, you know, maybe this week, if you've got any time.
Definitely. We've got all the time in the world.
Yeah. So I'm really excited, you know, to be back on now, because like I said, and I just want to say, you know, apologies that I know I could see you, and I was trying to do bits when I could, but it was just, you know, having to get this sorted so I know I could be fully present, you know.
Absolutely.
So today I was great. I was so blessed that Grace was here and she could help me, because that computer was just still can't fathom, you know, that sound. But I just managed to buy a thing, and
bless you. So, and you paid forward already. That was just like, oh, thank you.
Yes, of course.
You know, I know. It was brilliant. So what we need to do is, Kimberly and Terry, we need to find out a time that's good for you. And I know Geralie's got the children, and I know that you will be there if you're able to be there, Geralie. So this isn't a pressure for you to be there. But yeah, so if we can think of it, was this time a good time for both of you?
Good for me.
Yeah. So maybe should we say in a couple of days? Allow some preparation.
I Wednesday and Thursday I won't be available. It's okay. We're doing a mother-daughter birthday, Mother's Day thing. So so I won't be available those 2 days. But any other day, fine.
Yeah, brilliant. So if it's, what day are we today? We're on Saturday. What about Monday? Monday, the same time. Does that suit?
Sure.
Yeah. Good
for me.
Yeah, it works for me. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yes.
And maybe Geralie, I know the girls, so it's kind of like, do you know what? No pressure on you there at all. But yeah, if we do that, then that'll be.
Yeah, Monday.
3 p.m. wasn't it that we met today?
Monday.
Yes.
Yeah, on Monday at the. So it's. What time is it for you?
It's 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for me.
That's the same time for you as well, Kimberly. 10 a.m.
Same. Yep.
Brilliant. So let's do Monday. Oh wow, exciting! Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
The first kind of like spiritual, meeting that we will have had. Really, it will be the first. Kind of like specifically from, oh my gosh, it's exciting. Brilliant. Thank you so much. So Monday at 3 and 10. I'll send out an invitation as well, so that we
in the
same room as well, so we can have that. And thank you so much, everybody. Honestly, it's just been wonderful to have done this and to feel the energy. Oh my gosh, we're just creating history.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Anthea. I really appreciate everything.
Welcome.
Time.
Thank you so much. Grace is so good, isn't she?
She's good. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thanks for everything you're doing. You're an angel.
Bless you. We're getting there.
In every sense of the word. All right.
Bless you. Bye-bye.
See you Monday.
Bye. See you Monday.
Bye.
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 Bye. Bye. Take care. Bye-bye.